Yeah. Okay. So, welcome. And welcome to Leader Versus. Tonight, it is, in fact, in all its glory, this wonderful little Behringer CAT. Modeled after the CAT synthesizer. This is obviously Behringer's affordable clone. To be fair, I never even heard of this synth before. Behringer cloned it, so shame on me. But still, I'm very excited to have it because it was a gift. My daughter and wife love cats. I love cats too. And so they thought this would be a great gift. It really was. I love this synthesizer. This thing is perfectly named because as much as you think you are in control, I swear this thing has a mind of its own. And even today, I was just telling my wife that I was like, I think I have to send this thing back because every time I crank the frequency knob, the coarse one on VCO1, she'd probably already stopped listening at this point, but I kept going, and I said it started affecting the pitch of oscillator 2, which is, and this kind of strange synthesizer, this VCO2, the second oscillator, is basically the main oscillator, in my opinion. It's kind of the one I've set, and I will always set as my solid tuning. So right now it is at a middle C. You can see it's slightly off. I do need to calibrate this. I notice, excuse me, as I go up an octave, I'm going up 0.3 cents or 0.03 cents. I can't remember which one, but it starts to get a little higher and a little bit grading at the higher frequencies and a little bit off in the lower. There's a calibration method I'm sure that I haven't used. But anyways, let's just do a small overview. Oh, yeah, but I'm sorry. What I want to wrap was that this thing is just completely out of control. And it turns out it was my fault. I had a certain particular sync mode set up that was causing that. I guess by design, I'm assuming, because when I turn it off, it doesn't do it. So it's very interesting. Nonetheless, there's a lot of things about this synthesizer I'm still trying to understand because it doesn't seem to perform exactly like I expect, which honestly is great. That is a cool thing. I'm going to start zeroing this out as I talk. So, on with the show, let's talk about the synthesizer itself. We have two oscillators, a decent amount of control within these oscillators, but effectively you get, and also I love this about old style analog synthesizers, that you get all of these oscillators. You can have them all at the same time. You do only get two effective controls, so two sections, but you can have a saw, a triangle, a square pulse, two sub-octaves, one each here, another square, and another sawtooth, all jamming out at the same time. So it's kind of madness there. I love that. That's very similar to the ARP. And that was kind of new to me because I often am coming from a more semi-modular, maybe partially digital synthesizer. It might still have an analog signal path, but nonetheless, it doesn't have, I don't know, these things weren't possible. So anyways, that's really cool. So yeah, anyways, we got the two oscillators. We do have our pretty standard VCF section. You know, you have your Q right here, which is your resonance. You have your FC, which is your filter cutoff, or some low pass sometimes. Those are all great, sound fantastic. It's a very good, clean sounding filter to me. Can be obviously aggressive when you're getting crazy stuff, but if you want it to be clean, it's actually quite clean. So you have all these little modulation knobs here. These are hardwired to whatever knob they're attached to here, which so basically this is the setting. So if you wanted to say, for example, a sine wave to affect the modulation depth of this crew here, which I think only affects the suboctave, but no, it probably affects them all. We'll find out. It's like, I can't remember right now. So yes, you get three different waveforms for your LFO. That's the next section. The LFO, they did split up in kind of a strange way. You have your frequency over here, and then you have your delay and your sample and hold source setting. So where you're getting your sample and hold from are over here. So this is effectively your LFO controls, these three. You do get a glide, portamento. You also get your little pitch bend. I don't really use it much. It's a neat concept, but it must have been obviously on the original octave shift. That's beneficial at times. So that's your section over here. And then you do have what's also contained with these LFO stuff here. You do have your modulation, envelope, your two envelopes. So you can actually assign these by these little switches here, which goes where. So I usually tend to pick my ADSR for my filter because I want a little more control over the filter. And I usually just stick with the AR, which is just attack release, for my VCA, which is in this section here. I got that confused. No, this is VCF. Where is my VCA? Oh, it's just this little section right here. Yeah, okay. You got a volume knob, and you get to select which of your two envelopes, or you can actually do bypass, which just blasts the note consistently, and that's not something I'm probably going to do too often. Maybe for a drone, I guess. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's see here. I forgot to open up the chats. Okay. So, on with the show. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the noise level here. We do have a couple of switches that I just kind of glossed over there. We'll go into those more depth, such as like the poly and mono and all these guys here. But we are just going to go ahead and dive right in because this is such a cool, fun synthesizer. I have no real outlook of what I'm going to make on this. It's just going to be whatever it is. And then I will sample that into the lovely the Electron Tonewerk. It's not an Octatrack. You wish you were. Excuse me. Maybe someday. But anyway, this is going to be fun, and I'm excited because this is a really cool synthesizer. And honestly, I think you can get this thing for under $200. I mean, definitely used. Excuse me. And that is just an amazing price. It's an analog synthesizer. Man, I got a scratch in there. Woo! All right, I'm back. That was tough. I don't know what happened there. Okay. So yeah, we're going to multi-sample into the Tonewerk. And so let's get started. I mean, I honestly didn't mind too much what was happening with this patch here. Did I lose it? Why am I not getting any sound? Oh, what did I just do? Oh, I zeroed. No, that's open. Oh, I don't have any waveforms going. There we go. All right. I am going to kick this right here, the VCA, over to the attack and release envelope. Now I'm going to bring over here to this guy and make sure I have my setting here for the, and this is the depth for it. Perfect. This is the envelope generator connected to the ADSR connected to the LFO. The filter, sorry. Alright. I'll bring the filter cutoff all the way down. So this is what it would be like with none of this ADSR hitting that cutoff. Let's see, let's bring it up a little bit. Okay, I want a little release on this. A bit of sustain on it. And then a little of this guy. Okay. Very simple. Let's get a little action in here with this guy. And here we're getting a little something that's real low. There we go. Ooh, already in nice territory, man. Okay, that's the course, so now we can fine-tune it. Okay. Maybe a little bit more release. Okay. It's very clean still, and I'm looking for something a little more... Well, there we go. We're getting a little depth in there now. I have no square wave in there yet, so let's see if we get a little bit of that in there. Square wave can bring a lot of oomph. A little pulse width action here. In case you're not familiar with what pulse width is, all you're basically doing is shifting the point. So if you look at a square wave, you imagine two perfect, sections. They're equal. They're exactly the same. And you're using that as a modulation source. It's telling you, usually the highest to the lowest. So say 127 and 0. It's going 127 to 0 for the exact amount of time. Same amount of time. With the pulse width, you're basically shifting to which you're giving one side more and therefore one side less time, if you will. So we're going to shift over to the left. We should, I believe, be getting a smaller, lower frequency. This is not an LFO. I was talking LFO earlier, but this is basically, now we're talking about the waveform. But basically the lower half of the waveform, if you will, is shorter, while the upper half, the part over the zero crossing, is now longer. So you're getting more of that tone. I'll show it here in a moment without all these other sounds going on because it's kind of getting masked, but okay, maybe a little resonance. It's gonna rob it. Oh, that's all these kind of almost all filters that I know. They just take out that low end, man. It's such a bummer. I don't have enough experience except for digital versions of Oberheim, but apparently that filter doesn't rob, at least not as much, maybe no frequencies from the low end, which would be pretty amazing. So you can basically crank the resonance and you still get a nice meaty low end. Anyways, don't have one of those yet. All right, let's stop that for a second. What is that missing? Maybe a little more, a little brighter. Yeah, it's a little better. Let's go ahead and give it more of our sub-octave. I love triangle. It always gives you a nice kind of middle ground warmth. It can be very muddy. Sometimes when you feel like something's a little thin in the middle, that really does a good job. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to brighten it up all the way. Not all the way. Let's go about there. I talked about this last time, and it's just something I feel like is the nature of, got a hair there, the nature of using a sampling machine to create, basically what we're going to do here is sample this sound, and we're going to sample it across a range of notes, and then we're going to be able to play it back and effectively get that exact sound into our sampler. But there is always a problem, is that there's some static element to this. And for example, while I'm using this sound I'm going to create later in the Tonewerk, I do want it to be a filtered sound. I want it to be a nice muted kind of muffly little bass. But at points in the song, I might want to open it up. And I can do a couple of things. I can sample this in different ways. Maybe just, you know, slightly increase the filter each time. That can obviously be ridiculous if you really want if you want a lot of post sampling flexibility with the filter. You're going to need a lot of multi samples, and that just seems crazy. So unfortunately, the one big sacrifice, if you will, that I often do is that I don't use the filter on the synth. I end up basically relying on the filter on the sampler. I think I get pretty good results. I don't do this every time, but it's only times when I know I'm going to want to open that up. And I often want to open up a bass. I want a bass real muted, but like maybe in a build-up, I want to start brightening it up and kind of get you some more of those high frequency content, you know? So anyway, with that said, I'm going to basically turn the filter off here. So that's pretty dry and crispy. I'm not going to sample this sound. This is just whatever. Let's just go ahead and clear it. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do this. How do I do it? It was mute. That's right. Okay, let's go to track. Oh, no. I'm sorry. It's been a little bit since I've done this. Okay, track 8. We're going to come here and we're going to go to sampler. We're going to go, I think it's down. Auto sampler. We're going to hit yes. Okay, here we go. We are MIDI channel 1. Yes, that is correct. Let's go ahead and measure the timing. That's a pretty cool feature. So we got 7 milliseconds of latency coming in, and then it's going to give us about almost a little over a second, 1.1 seconds, excuse me, to basically capture the length of that sound. So next, where are we going to start? We got 85 keys here. We don't need that. Well, here, let's listen. Oh, I can't do it? I thought I was going to be able to play there. Oh, psh. Jeez. Man. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Okay, there's nothing at that low. I think I'm going to give it this whole 85 note run. Why not? This sample no. So, okay, here's, this is some other stuff to talk about. So what we have here first is we're going to define what note range we're going to actually sample. So I'm going down to 24. This is the concept out of 0 out of 128, 0 to 127 technically. But you kind of have to, in your head, convert them to notes because unfortunately they are not telling you the notes. I hope that they address that because that would be nice to know. You get a little visual thing here, but it's nice to also know just like the octave and stuff. I don't know, whatever. So I think this is perfectly fine. It's basically going to disregard the super low end, and it's going to not do the super high end, which neither of those are interesting to me. So the other part we're going to do is we're going to set what's called the resolution. This is G. This is how many, so as you go along, say you're starting at C-2 and you want to go all the way up to C4. So you got about 6 octaves in there. If you sample, say, every 3 notes, what's going to happen is it's going to capture every 3rd note going all the way up. So basically, if it's 3, I guess it's going to give you what's a minor flat 2, I guess. But anyways, the point is it samples all those steps, and then it goes back and it decides, I'm sure it has some sort of algorithm, decides which sample to either shift up or shift down to function as the notes in between of what it actually sampled. So if you sampled C to all the way up to C4, just say, so that first octave you're going to do like C, E flat, and then G, and so on. So when you play D, it's going to basically take one of those, either C or E flat, and it's going to pitch it down or up, depending, to play the D. It totally works. It's a great way to save space and to make these more lightweight and usable. But I prefer to sample because it's honestly not that big of a deal. We're not going to do velocity. That's a whole nother layer here. We're just doing a single velocity. Even with 85 sampled notes in this one pack, it's going to be, I mean, I think it actually tells me, but it's going to be in the lower megabytes, maybe like 100 megabytes. Which is not big, and that's totally acceptable for me because I do like having that variation. I don't really like pitching if I don't have to, basically pitching the samples to meet different note requirements. So I try this way, and I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. Actually, go next. 1 second length. But it had I think it told me before. I'm going to go, whoops. Yeah. Let's go to 1. A little over 1. Let's go 1.11. 69 megabytes. That's tiny. It's going to take 3 minutes. So I'm going to hit yes. I don't know if I'm just not hearing it. It's starting so low, I don't even think there's samples down there. I don't think it's making sound for this thing. So nothing yet, I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not quiet when it samples. Start hearing something here shortly. There we go, 13. I don't know if I should just start this over. Yeah, I'm gonna... No, let's just leave it. Time is of the essence, right? Dang, I'm not getting any people stopping by today. That's all right. Regardless, people will watch later. And if you do, thank you for that too. That helps. I'm just trying to get those hours so I can make this thing actually happen. Yeah, so anyway, this is a pretty cool concept. I love the concept of auto sampling. It really changes the game for, I mean, hell, to have Electron now have an auto sampler really changes the game. But my first real experience, I'd say, was with, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. My first experience was with Logic. Logic has a fantastic auto sampler built in. Logic actually, if you have a Mac and you're looking for a one-stop shop DAW, Logic is fantastic. Like it's amazing. I bought it years ago, and I still get the updates. I've never had any issues putting on like every single Mac I've ever owned, which has been a lot of Macs over the years. But point being is they've swallowed up so many awesome VSTs, like what was it, Camel Audios? They have their big synth in there. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Camel Audio or something like that. But it's a very, very good sample-based synthesizer. Then you also have their built-in auto sampler, which is fantastic. But, excuse me, I'd say I use that sparingly. What I really got into was using the MPC's auto sampler, which is awesome. It's actually better still than this guy. This, I know, is still in its infancy, so we'll see where it goes. The MPC Live has been around for, God, I think it was 2016 or 17 it came out. So they're almost getting a decade. So they've had a lot of time to perfect that, or even include it. I think it didn't come in for years. But the Live 2 is what I have, and it has a fantastic auto sampler. It's been in my to-do list. It's like 95% done too, which is ridiculous, but I have 2 full sample packs of instruments built for the MPC that were made from both my former Ensoniq ESQ1, which I loved, fantastic synthesizer, and the heavily modded Hawk Korg 800, or Hawk 800. That thing was crazy, and it was so unpredictable, but I was able to get some sounds out of that thing that I fell in love with. So I sampled those, and I had to sell that one too, unfortunately. But anyway, I made some pretty amazing, in my opinion, of course, pretty amazing sounds. And recording done. Okay, we got it. We get an auto name too. Hold on. Inconsequential Dinner. I'm sorry. Yeah, Inconsequential Dinner. Yeah, it's a dumb one. Okay. All right, let's go over here to... I had some multi-sample there. Let's go ahead and change that. Inconsequential... Oh, it's probably always... Yeah, I think they're always at the bottom. It's fine. Did I just go backwards? Yep. Okay. All right, let's hear what this sounded like. Well, that's interesting. Did the auto... I think I messed it up. Oh, no. I did. Son of a bee. Okay, well, that one's garbage. I made a mistake. And I'm not hearing it here, which is what's so frustrating about it, is I did not catch... Yep, source A. Well, wait, no, that's right. Source A. Oh, nope, right there. Man, that is tricky, because it says, oh, it's the button. Okay. The inputs are labeled A and B. This is a bit silly. But you also have the knob that's labeled A, and so when it said source and had the A in there, in my head, I thought it meant it was just grabbing input A, but they're saying to change the source, use knob A. So, all right, well, this we actually get to fix the problem where I had those unusable notes, which I think was like 13. So we're gonna go up an octave. So we're at 36, nice and easy. All right, 36. We don't need to go as high as it did either, so I'm going to bring that down 12. So we'll go down to 96. So we made this even smaller. We're going to do one sample. Keep hitting yes, but 1.11 seconds. That's perfect. Okay. All right, that's great. At least we're hearing something right off the bat. It is weird that when it auto-sampled, I heard it in both ears, so I don't know why I would have done that. But anyway, yeah, so the MPC Live does have the superior auto-sampler still in a hardware box from my experience between these two. I look forward to getting the MPC3 Live soon. Not soon, at some point. But I'm pretty happy with the MPC2 still. And I think what I realized with that guy is I just needed to back off how much I was trying to squeeze out of it. They put all these awesome plugins in there and you just want to use them up. And you end up basically blasting that thing's memory because it's quite small. I think it's only 2 gigabytes, which for a standalone sampler is great. But if you're going to sell built-in sample or plugins, then you use that 2 gigabytes up pretty quick. I think the new one has 8 gigabytes, which is pretty awesome. So anyway, don't need it right now. Let's see here. I'm a little sad that only one view. That's okay. I'm not complaining. I shouldn't be doing that. But I'm just kind of surprised too. Makes me think I did something wrong. Because I usually get a couple of people to check it out. So maybe tonight's just not a good night. And that's totally fine. Let's see. Turn that down a little bit. When we get to using synthesizers that have presets and such that I can actually save, I probably won't auto-sample in the middle of it. Because this is kind of some odd downtime. Let's see. Your channel. I am live. That was me. Okay. Alright. So yeah. I won't do this because, unfortunately, when we move on to the next sound, this sound's going to be gone kind of forever. Okay, let's see. Nice aeration? Okay. All right. Let's see what this one sounds like now. Man, I hope I didn't mess this one up somehow. Let's find out. Nice aeration. Nope, there it is. Yep. Excuse me. Okay, that's the real one. Now here's the sample. Man, my lungs. I don't know what's going on. Here's the one thing that's really also great about an auto sampler. You may have heard there's a little bit of a tone difference here, and this is why. Hey! Polyphonic. You get 8 voices per track on this. So basically I turned this single voice monophonic synth into a 8-voice polyphonic synth. Which is awesome. That's amazing. Probably the number one reason to ever auto sample, period, is to take these fantastic monosynths and turn them into ever dreamed of polysynth. So cool. So if we come over here and mess with the filter a little bit. Let's see what we can get with this. Okay, 129. All right, let's try just something. I just want to get something. Oh. There we go. That was me messing up the first time. We don't need that. Okay. Let's do a little metronome on this guy. Boom. Ooh, that is super slappy. So let me quantize that. That's better. All right. So now, by leveraging the filter inside the ToneVerk, I obviously get a ton more flexibility. But there's the clean sound. We'll give it a little filter. See what we got here actually. So we got a little bit of sustain, got a little bit more, about halfway. 63, 64 of the decay. Now we're on the release. That is a little higher. Okay, the envelope was about there. Okay. You can also hear right there. Those digital filters, man, they don't chew up that low end like the analog ones do. Okay, sound 2. Let's go back to track 8. This is my MIDI track for now. So let's see. All right, let's zero everything out. So back to, I'm just going to eyeball them. I don't touch that one. No touch all day. That one stays exactly where it is because that one has been, quote, calibrated, if you will, to a C. I don't know. I'm not sure what the keyboard control does. I just realized that. Oh, maybe that. Oh, keyboard control. Okay, that's what do they call it and everything else? Filter tracking or keyboard tracking, I believe. We'll find out. But this should be basically determines at what level of the keyboard you're at, low end or high end, controls how much of the filter is actually being engaged. It's an interesting concept. It's actually super awesome, but I don't need to go into it right now. All right. Not getting any sounds. Why am I not getting any sounds? Filter is closed. We got none of these guys open. Let's start with a square wave. Tighten it up. Sustain. This to me is considered a initialized envelope, an ADSR envelope, which is the attack and the decay all the way down, the sustain all the way up, and the release all the way down. This is just basically open and close. And that's by a gate of the keyboard. Oh, that's the wrong guy. And you know, the same thing essentially for this AR envelope. It's just these two down, so your attack and your release are just flat. Got this one guy going here. Filter's wide open. The Q or the resonance is down. We will put the keyboard control down. Boom, boom, boom. These are fine because they're just set to whatever. You know, let's just go all up with them. And VCO, this is controlling this guy, and the VCO is getting the AR. Cool. This is totally good. Totally initialized. All right, so let's make some sort of like lead patch. Actually, no, better yet, let's make a keyboard patch. So we're gonna plan out. We're gonna have to use our ears to the best of our possibility, or best of our capability, to get to kind of imagine what when we play this one note it'll sound like if we play 4 or 6 or 8. So let's see. We got square. I do not have a pulse width on this, so this is a true square. So let's bring in a pulse wave, which is going to be about there. Okay, well first, actually, let's bring in the saw. Dial it in. That's pretty good. We can actually sync it this way. the coarse does something. The fine doesn't really do much at all because it's just not enough to change the sync. But we're on mono here. I'm going to go back to off. Ooh. I like to manually sync them because you can hear it's not perfect. And I love that little bit of push and pull phase. Okay. Ooh, yeah. Will we do a little bit of pad? Okay, so here's another thing with the auto sampler, or sampling in general. I may design a pad here, but I will always, well, I shouldn't say always, but traditionally or generally my most likely what I'm going to do, that's probably the best way to say it, is I'm going to just do the total instant attack, total release, and just do a long recording. So that way I can then control even more later how much of that, because I do get an envelope generator too, in fact, in here that allow me to control that same thing and turn that into a pad. And that to me makes much more sense because then I can also turn it into a keyboard patch, or I could turn it into a stab, or I could turn it into all sorts of things and not have to sample those each. So I'm going to go ahead and do this because I want to hear what it's going to sound like as a pad. Yeah, I think I want to go with a pad. But what I am going to do, I'm going to leave those for now. But like I said earlier, I'm going to zero those back out before I actually do the sampling. Let's hear. I think I need some sub-octave in there. Yeah. No, just this guy. Okay. Let's get a little... What if we played with this pulse width by using an LFO, which will be... How do I add the LFO to that directly, though? Because these are not. That's interesting. I wonder if I... Oh, that's pitch. Ooh! Brought up a fifth. Well, I was going for a pad. Not anymore. Ooh, I like that. Okay, what are we going to go with next here? So maybe just a little bit of filter. Oh, no, I don't want to go filter yet. I want to mess with the LFO some. So, let's see. Maybe on this guy here, we're going to do a little sine. That's interesting. What is giving me this? Huh. Oh, that's right, because I modulated the pitch. Never mind. That's better. Okay. Maybe a little bit more. I got an idea. Hear that? Oh, God, that's a little bit tense at the end there. I'm going to actually use the delay. Yeah, there we go. What was I using this here? No, I don't want to do that. Okay, we need more. Ooh. is grimy. I love that. Woo-hoo. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Okay, I'm going to back that LFO delay down just a little bit. I want to come in a little bit quicker. Man, I don't know what to do with the filter, if anything at all now, because I don't want to lose any of can't. No filter. So we're going to actually switch the ADSR to control the VCA, just because I'm not going to put any filter on this, because I need to save it so I can get all those tasty frequencies and manipulate them later. I'm a little sad. That's interesting. Why is it doing that? Oh, because of this? No. Oh, that's why. See, this is what I'm talking about, unpredictable. What is going on? The ADSR is somehow affecting something's pitch, but oh, there it is. Jeez. Okay. Oh my God, this is going to be a fantastic sound. Okay. Ooh, sorry, I'm getting a little excited. Okay. Okay. There. Dude. Okay. I think that's going to be a sweet sound. All right, let's sample it. Let's take this guy. All right. Go the auto sampler. We have just A, although it does say USB-L, which is, who cares? We don't need to worry about that. This is not plugged into any computers or anything. MIDI channel 1, that is correct. Let's measure the timing. Should be a decently long release. Oh yeah, it's probably like 4, no, almost 7. Woo, that's a bit long. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, that should be fine. That should be fine. I wonder if I can... You know what? I'm going to go up to 108. I wonder if this is going to burn me on the sample time. The length. Now this is interesting. Note length. Okay. Yeah, 1 second. Let's go up to 1.2. 108. That's still 108 megabytes, but it's going to take almost 10 minutes to sample this. Okay. Well, here we go. Oh yes. Okay, that's right. All right. Here we go. I might take a break here in a minute. And, well, no viewers. I guess the Behringer CAT was not as interesting as the last few synths I used. Duly noted, but man, it's going to be hard not to want to bust this guy out again, because I think this is such a cool synthesizer. Like, I have a whole idea. I don't want to say the name because I think the name is so good that I think somebody would steal it from me. I have a whole idea to actually create a whole different podcast, or I'm sorry, stream, whatever, where I just use these kinds of synthesizers and just make mad noise craziness the whole time. No talking, no anything, just noise blasting. I might do that because it's really fun, and honestly, it's kind of cathartic for me. And it's going to take a while. But yeah, I really love making that wild kind of crazy stuff, and I don't expect anybody else to like really love it, but maybe it's kind of enjoyable for you as well to hear. So I'm gonna do that. I'll associate it with leaders, so it'll still be a part of this thing. But I think maybe when I have more time, I'm gonna start doing that. It's been an idea since I got this thing, because honestly, I feel like this, even more so than say my 2600, the Behringer 2600, which has a lot more modulation and options overall. I just seem like to have such a good time getting wildness out of this thing. I haven't done it yet. Maybe the next sound can just be kind of noise effects. I think we're ready for that today. I don't think any of my viewers would disagree. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna take a break. This still does have almost 8 minutes, so I'm gonna take a break and I'll be back shortly, and we will continue on. All right, I do hope if you do come by and no one's here, well, I guess you're not going to hear this, so whatever. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, I can tell we went an octave too high because this is gonna reach that point where I would be like, I'm never gonna play it that high. But damn, if that doesn't sound cool. Oh man. Yeah, I know I've said this before, and I'm not gonna dwell on it, but whatever you feel about Behringer, I'm sure you're completely right to feel it. Whether you love them, whether you hate them, whether you're more like me and it's more complicated, um, you can't deny that they are delivering a pretty amazing product for the price. Because not only are they delivering synthesizers for very, very cheap. I mean, oh wow, that is getting very loud. It'd be nice if you could stop this thing and then just be like, okay, we got to, the end, and you can just turn it into a sample. I imagine if I hit FN plus no to cancel, it'll probably just delete the whole thing. And I don't want to do that again. But anyways, back to Behringer. You can't, so they're delivering just a synthesizer for sometimes as low as $50. Yes, that's not their idea. I totally understand people being irritated about that. They're not the first company to clone or make tons of clones of instruments, but they are the biggest, probably. But man, not only that, but to get a pretty good, I mean, again, I've never had a cat, I don't think any of the synthesizers I own of Behringer have I ever been in the space of the same clone, or the original that they cloned. Because what do I have? I have the Pro 800, which is the Prophet 800, or I think it was called the Pro 800 too, from Sequential. 2600, which is ARP, and this guy. I think that's it. Yeah. So, oh no, I'm sorry. I also have the TD3 and the murdered out version too. So two TD3s, which is the TB303 or the Roland 303. So no, I've never been around any of those. But all I can say is that you watch them online, you watch the reviews and comparisons, and they're pretty spot on. I mean, yes, they're not going to sound just like a vintage synthesizer, regardless, even if they're made from the same components. But also, there's going to be some trade-offs. Those were made in different times and made with different types of materials. Boop, boop. Oh, we didn't get the name. Let's find out. But yeah, so point being, to get that kind of quality synthesizer that mimics one that probably costs thousands, it's truly amazing. It's truly amazing. I don't know what else to say about it other than that. All right. Well, I don't know what that one was called, but I know it wasn't called Suspected Engraver. No, it's not that one. Ornery Myosin. That's definitely it. And that's not a that's not a bad name. Oh my gosh. Dude! Oh, and listen to that finish. Let's just turn it into a pad real quick. Oh, man. Dude, that is lovely. I gotta turn it up. I'm sorry, it was way too low. Let me hear. Dude, come on. That is wow. Okay. I gotta admit, hey, I got a viewer. Hey, thank you. There hasn't been many people on tonight, and I've been feeling a little bummed. I'm kind of like, maybe I should just cut it early. But right there, current viewer, if you weren't with us before, which I don't think you were, I sampled a single note, which is actually just this guy right here. Very lovely sound. But we came over to this one, we sampled it, and now I can play it polyphonic wise. That is so Cool. I get it. I'm passionate about this stuff too. Not the bee people, but not the bee people. Oh, Behringer. Yeah. Oh, Trickman Terry. Hey, man. Agreed. Thanks for joining, man. I see you on Electronauts, and I appreciate you watching the stuff that I do. And yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah. So anyway, man, I am loving that sound, and that's just basically raw. All I did was mess with the attack and the release to get a pad sound. I'm going to take that back for now. I think I am going to keep that as a release. I'm sorry, as a pad. I'm just going to do that for now. That is great. I'm super happy with that. Okay, let's move on to one more. It is 9 o'clock. We got time for at least one more sound, so back to my track 8. That was great sounding just by itself there, but we're going to zero this out. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to keep the saw wave in. Turn all my modulation down. That's the pulse width, so I actually sit up at noon. Well, I'm going to mess with that now. Just turn it down for now. Do not mess with that. Boom, 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 boom. There. We are back to 0. Yep, okay. Let's see what we got. Okay, I'm actually going to turn VCA over to the AR, so that frees up the ADSR to control the filter. Because we're going to do something pretty crazy here this time. Let's go ahead and bring in some more waveforms. I'm just going to bring a little bit of almost everything. That is great. Okay, so now let's get some modulation going. Let's go ahead. We got VCO1. We can basically feedback. Sort of FM style. Woo. I wish I had something I could modulate that with. That would be even better. Possibly. I don't know how this would work, but let's see if it does. I just changed the pitch because I matched it. Let's see, where's my VCO2 off? VCO1 audio, there we go. Ooh, man, that is grimy. Yeah, same thing. That's, I understand. I do, I'll say I have, we're talking about Behringer here right now. But I have this complaint across the board from most all big manufacturing firms, whether it be Apple or, Dell, some sort of PC, it doesn't matter. But, those kind of large business practices that end up being, I don't want to say slave labor because I don't know about that, but, there's some exploitation. There has to be. Yeah, anyways, you're right, man. It's not really, let's not even talk about that stuff. It is really just about making the music and having fun with that stuff. And honestly, it's a fantastic product. For how cheap it is, it doesn't feel cheap, and it sounds great. All right, we need some variation on this. So, let's see. I've got if we delayed that LFO maybe a little bit, so I basically brought in some of this sine wave here. So as I discussed earlier, this one LFO essentially outputs multiple waveforms. So you can grab those waveforms anywhere you see an option. So you get these 3 here: sine, square, sample, and hold. And I think that's the only 3 options you get, but you can see you get a slider everywhere to engage that out of the 3 sections here, the 2 oscillators and the filter. Let's do a little delay. Maybe a little bit less, like quicker. Okay. And let's see if I brought sample and hold on this guy. Ooh. I'm not going to do the sample and hold there. That was kind of crazy, but we might be able to do it on the filter. Yeah. Maybe a little bit slight. But I have it affecting pitch in other places. If you have an LFO going slow and it has a little bit more than say one, full, setting, one full MIDI, like 0 to 1, 1 to 2. If you have above 1, it's just with pitch. If it's slow, it's just going to sound really wonky and out of tune, which could be fun. You know what I mean? If I back it off, yeah, I wish I had more than one LFO on this. I always want more than one LFO. Because I can't get those separated because I don't have any sort of way, not without some external modules and stuff. I have no way to basically divide or change the scale of this LFO frequency. So no matter where I put it, they're all going to basically be doing something along the same time frame. So I would love for the sample and hold to be really fast, just to give you that, but I also wanted the pitch to be kind of slower. But I think that's all right there. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of release. We're not messing with the filter again. We'll make a little slide here. Yeah, I don't need any of that for sampling. No, the sample and hold does sound pretty good there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually bounce this back. This is not on, so I'm just going to turn that to the AR, and I'm actually going to use the VCA tied to the ADSR since we're not using it for the filter again. And I'm going to give a little bit. Dude, this thing is incredibly dirty. I was saying earlier how I think the name is just perfect because I have a hard time controlling it. Like I was saying this earlier too, literally earlier today, I told my wife that I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to reach out to Sweetwater and tell them that this thing's got a problem and get it repaired, because every time I mess with the coarse knob, it was actually changing the pitch. A coarse knob on the VCO1 was changing the pitch on VCO2. And I had something happen like that in a different synthesizer. It turned out to be a short on the circuit board. Well, turns out it's actually mode B of the sync that allows you to do that. I don't know why. I do need to read the manual again. But nonetheless, it's just I'm always like, man, what is going on with this thing? And I love it though. I wasn't even sure if that was really going to be a fault, if I was still going to send it back, because I liked what it did. It did this really wonky kind of lo-fi thing. In fact, here, I'll show you. Maybe it was mode A. No, it's not doing it now. See? I don't know, man. This thing's crazy. Woo! Dude, that is pretty dirty. Yes, I think that's a good way of describing that. I don't know how I'm going to auto sample this though. Well, I guess just like that. The only downside of auto sampling something like this is when I go to play it polyphonically, which I don't have to do. I can keep it as a monophonic sampled instrument. But if I were to play it polyphonically, then it's going to play the same notes, if that makes sense. Oh, wait a minute. No, we get a round robin feature in this. It's not going to be perfect. Because my point is that if I had 8 of these plugged in and had them all exactly set to the same parameter, when I played something, they, to mostly, other than the sample and hold, would follow the same kind of sound structure. You know, like something in terms of like the modulation coming in just right in a certain way would happen on all those notes at the same time. If I multi-sample this, but only do one single sample per key, I go to play all those keys in a polyphonic function, it's going to sound really wacky, but that might be actually fantastic. But I also remembered we also have, here, let's do a little latency test. I believe, God, I hope, we also have the ability to create multiple samples for just the same key. Let's see, G, sample every, no, that's not what I want. I guess if I did velocity layers, that should work. Let's do 4. We'll keep it kind of simple. So, okay, so the velocity layer concept is if I had a velocity sensitivity parameter going on here. So, you know, for example, if you're playing a piano and you play softly, the whip-ins are hitting, those little kind of hammers are hitting the strings. And when they do it softly, the string is obviously playing a nice, soft, warm, very low, a little tiny bit of high frequency content. But if you smack that string really hard, you're going to get a lot of high frequency content. So your timbre is going to be different. So when you get the velocity layers in here, that's generally what you're trying to achieve. But we don't have, maybe there is even that. I just don't have it set up. I haven't looked into it yet. But the point being is we're not using that right now. So I'm going to use those velocity layers because any velocity is going to play the same exact note. But every time I play even the same note, it's going to sound a little different. So I'm hoping that I just randomly get some of those variations inside those 4 different velocity layers, which really are just going to be round robin multi-samples. So we don't need that. We could get away with, say, no, let's do a second. Let's do 1 second. Come on, boop, 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 boop. Boop. Okay. 7 minutes, 4 seconds. All right, sorry. I'll see you guys in 7 minutes, 4 seconds. I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna turn that down. Yeah, I don't know if you're still here, Trickman Terry, but yes, I've seen the K2. It is definitely on my wish list. I have to admit, I went through, was it yesterday? And I looked at a Behringer dealer, and I basically put in every single synth of theirs that I wanted to see what it would actually cost. And I think it was like just barely over, oh nice, thank you. Just barely over $3,000, and it was like, I think it was like 10 or 12 synthesizers, K2 included, the Bogue, you know, the Mini Moog copy, their grandmother copy, was the Toro, I think, which is, yeah, right, I know, dude, I've got, what did I get on sale? I think it was the Pro 800, and I got it for like $225 out the door. And that's crazy. It was before everything got really expensive. Not really expensive, but more expensive because of tariffs and all that stuff. But if you were willing, you know, once the tariff thing goes away, if it does, if you're willing to have it shipped from overseas, you can actually get some pretty smoking deals from Tom. And depending on how the tariff situation goes, you know, the de minimis thing being gone too doesn't help. But yeah, you can get some smoking deals there too. But yeah, it is crazy how good the prices are. So I don't doubt that I'll have some more Behringer synths here at some point. The one that I'm really excited about would probably be the UBXAD, the Oberheim. Oh, you have a grandmother? Nice. So I live in Asheville, and I used to go hang out in Moog all the time. And I do have some older ones. I have the Minotaur and the Slim. I had a bunch of their pedals, like the Moger Fogers, the original ones. I had some other of their gear. I've sold most of it off. But yeah, I didn't. I never picked up the grandmother. I think, what was the other one? Is it the grandmother, and then the matriarch's the bigger one? So the matriarch was the one I was really interested in, but I was just constantly sitting there waiting for them to do a poly. And then they did do the Moog 1, and I was like, oh, screw you guys. It was like $7,000 or something like that. Since then, they've been bought out, and that factory shut down. That Moog, the whole thing is gone, which is sad because it was a beautiful, cool building. The building's still there, but like, you know, all the beautiful artwork and stuff is all gone. I don't know what it is, some other business now. But yeah, then they got bought out by In Music, which is like, you know, AKI and all those other guys under one house. And they did the Muse, which does... Oh, you got the Mother? Oh, wait. Yeah, and the Mother 32 sounds... Okay, so you do have a Mother? I've never played with the Mother 32. I was very interested in the... what's the one that's all triangles? The... Can't think of what it's called. Yeah, anyways, their other line, and the DFAM. The DFAM is pretty badass too. But yeah, so anyways, they did make the Muse, and I was really excited about the Muse, even though I knew it wasn't going to be like a real Moog, quote unquote. Of course, it's still going to be a real Moog, but it wasn't going to be built in the factory just down the road from my house. But I played one at Guitar Center, even though that thing looks awesome. The UI is complex, but once you get a hold of it, I think it would be totally great. Oh, whoa. What's going on here? Oh, God, it's going through each one and doing that. That's why it's taking so long. Only 3 more minutes. I forgot about the velocity layers. I figured it was going to do them at the same time, but it's actually going through the whole scale and then coming back. But anyways, yeah, I played with it at the Guitar Center here in town, and the tuning, the calibration was really bad. And I figured, okay, that's probably just because it's a store model and people just been banging on it, and, you know, they barely care. You can see, like, the cables are all, like, wedged back, and it's going to blow out the input jack at some point. This is like, it's Guitar Center. I mean, they don't... Sorry, Guitar Center, and if you work there, I don't mean to insult you, but, yeah. Oh, yeah, on Edge, nice. Yes, which is basically a copy from the DFAM. That's cool. But, yeah, so I went online, and I was like, well, I should check this out. And apparently it's not uncommon. Apparently there's a fair amount of issues with the Muse, at least from what I've read. I'm not saying for sure. People only complain, or people only write stuff when they have something to complain. You didn't see too many people being up there, I love this thing, it's the best synth I've ever had. Some people did, but not nearly as many people who are saying bad things. But again, you have to take that with a grain of salt. But point being, I saw that, and I've heard that there is some firmware issues with the tuning, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not interested for now. But I hope they change that, because honestly, it was a very, very cool synthesizer. It looked like something out of, like, what's the movie? It's the Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? What's it? Blade Runner. Blade Runner. It looks like something out of Blade Runner, and it's very, very good sounding, except for the tuning issues. So, yes, I'm using the ToneVerk to do a multi-sample, and I'm doing multiple layers, which is why we're going back and forth on this. They just put out the update, it was probably 2 weeks ago, maybe, that fixed the timing issues. I honestly didn't even try, because I got it very early, and I was already getting tons of bugs that were kind of driving me nuts. And I didn't even bother with the auto sampling, because I was like, I don't want to mess with it. I know it's just going to be a waste of time. I've not had any issues with it since they did the update, and I continue not to, you know, good old knock on wood. So yeah, I'm excited. It is very much in its infancy. I can already tell because of all the other boxes I have. They have a lot more complexity to them, and this thing does not have a whole ton of complexity. It's got some in there. For me, it's mainly the routing options, meaning you can per step route out any track to any subtrack or effect, which is great. So basically, as the song's progressing, you can have like a really crazy lo-fi subtrack, and you can just basically throw anything or all things in there for 1 step, 5 steps. It's really cool. A lot of cool stuff there. But what's a little disappointing is the sample editing on here is almost not there. It's like it's basically got a very similar engine as the original Octatrack came out right when it came out, meaning like bare bones sample editing, none of the fancy fun machines and stuff like that. Act 2, Syntac, Toners. Man, well, you got a nice collection going, though. I was looking at the samples because I heard somebody they called it the supermodel, having the samples and the cycles. Trickman Terry, you probably know this, but in case anybody else watches this eventually and doesn't know this, it seems like Electron, when you collect a certain group of their machines, it becomes this type of thing. And for example, I have the analog Rhythm MK1, the analog 4 MK1, and the Octatrack MK2, and that technically qualifies as the Dark Trinity, because the Silver Trinity was the mono machine, the machine drum, and I guess maybe the SID station. Maybe, or I think it was the Octatrack MK1 that was just called the Trinity. But obviously they came out with more machines, and this one became the Dark Trinity. I didn't hear anything fun for the Digis, but I did love Supermodel, and I was like, oh man, the name alone wants me to get one. I never picked one up though. So do you find that the samples and the cycles, are they basically the same thing, but except you obviously get just a few, do you ever get like obviously a few different parameters because you're dealing with samples versus a synth engine, but like overall it seems like they're essentially the same kind of synth in terms of like all the sequencing stuff seems the same. And this is just me reading the manual of the samples, but I've never actually had one in my hands. But I've very thoroughly invested time into the cycles, so I was curious. Yeah, what's the overlap beyond the sample thing? Like, you getting the same sequencer, same kind of knob per function kind of thing? Is there any like under the hood settings that are like, not present on the cycles? Just curious. I think the thing that kept me away from getting the samples is the lack of the in any way like a real envelope. So I was curious too about that. I'll have to look that up, but I knew that there was no attack, and you probably had to do a trick like you have to do in the cycles by using the LFO. So yeah, that was something that kind of turned me off from it for whatever reason. But since then, I've always wanted to pair the cycles with something, and I never did. I never found its partner or its equal, if you will. But I've recently put it with the Sonicware Liven Evoke, and dude, that is a hell of a combo. I am very excited about that. I really think the Modal Cycles is capable of writing some very beautiful music. I've done a few tracks that I was very happy with, that I thought were quite beautiful, that I never expected to be able to make off that synthesizer when I first got it. And I also, obviously, the Evoke is built for that, so I paired them together, and I did one song I put out there that was just kind of, honestly, just kind of something to try and to do. But now I know it's totally worth putting them together. I'm actually building a little box with them together, so they're going to be permanent together. And here we go. Nobody's cycles with samples of synth engine, a few different ton. Yeah. Oh, you got an Evoke too? Nice. Yeah, man, it's a cool. I haven't spent enough time with it. I basically made like 3 tracks or 2 tracks even, I think. And then I got the Toneverk, and I got totally sidetracked. Don't regret that at all. But yeah, once that box is done, I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna take it out on a trip or something and just write like maybe 3 or 4 like really pretty songs with it and just put those up. But yeah, I love the Evoke. The only thing I don't like about it, I will say, is it's so damn easy to lose your work because it's just the feedback, the visual feedback from the synth can be challenging. I don't know if you feel that way, Terry, but it is very easy for me to basically do something, go back and realize I just overwrote it, or I've overwritten it, or what's the other thing I would do sometimes? Oh, I think saving patterns was tricky. I'm sure it's just a matter I haven't spent enough time with it, but yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I wish, kind of like Germany does its purity laws for its beer, I wish they did something with sequencers. That's stupid, of course, because I love having the different options and stuff like that. But I do wish there was like some basic level where they're like, all right, everybody, this is how we treat pattern copy. This is how we're gonna do that. This is how we do fills. This is how we do that. Stuff like that. Be easier for my brain. But of course, I'm being tongue-in-cheek here because that would be horrible. Who wants all the same sequencers? We want different stuff. Okay, let's hear that sound. So I'm gonna go track 3. I'm gonna bring in the multiplayer. I didn't catch what it was named again, but we'll figure it out. It's not nice aeration. Avoidable spring. No, that was a new one. Spectral. No. Ornery Myosins, that one I just had made. Quality blame. Interesting. Did I not do it long enough? Let's see here. Oh, that's weird. It was just... So we're not going to get any of those velocity. Not going to get any of that variation from the velocity because you don't get velocity sensitivity on these keys here, though. So pair the Evo with Ableton Move. Man, you got a nice collection too. Oh man, the Move. Wow. Yeah, you should release it on YouTube, man. I'd love to see all this stuff in action. The Ableton Move. I used Ableton for live performance for years, and I did really like it. And I used a Novation Launchpad, a couple of different ones of those. But I kind of don't use Ableton. I'm not doing any sort of performance. I do want to bring it back out again. I have this whole other thing that I was working on a long time ago that is very Ableton based. But yeah, I haven't used that much. So I did see the Move. I am always looking for very portable and fun little tools. But I looked at the Move and I was like, you know, it seems like it's like a sketch pad for Ableton. And I'm not sure I want to get back into Ableton right now. And I also thought, I think it's only 4 tracks. I was like, I don't know if I'd like that as much. I'm curious to see what it's doing, and I'd love to see someone, you know, compare it to something Electron based, so I can just basically have an idea of what the differences are. That is Electron sequencers and some of their kind of general features that they have almost across every synth is usually what I use to compare to another synth or another company's sequencer. Just because I think this is the best sequencer I've ever personally used. I'm sure there's better out there, especially in your personal taste. But when it comes to just like immediacy and just the P locks, the parameter locks per step, the sound locks, so many things, I've just really glommed on to the Electron way of thinking. So yeah, I would love to see any sort of stuff like that. So Moves on to my fave. Easy. Well, okay, all right. Man, put up a YouTube video with you showing, at the very least, just playing a song or something on. I'd love to see what you do with it. And yeah, you might talk me into getting one myself because I definitely like the form factor. It's way out of my price range right now, but I was starting to thirst over the OPXY. I know Teenage Engineering is like a goofy company and they make some weird stuff, but I absolutely love my medieval synth. And man, if that thing was only $1,000, I'm sure everybody would probably buy one at that point. But it would be a no-brainer. But I think it's like 24. Even with this, they did a sale. It was like 1,700, which is a great sale. But damn, that's a lot of money to spend on a little tiny guy. But it looks awesome and it looks portable, and that's what I really want. I honestly thought a smartphone with Nano Studio 2 and Garage Band, and I had another one on here that I was making music with. I can't think of it. Was called. Oh, well, that's on the iPad, Beatmaker. But there's just, the screen thing, it just never really did it for me. I need buttons. Buttons are the way to go. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right, that's a pretty cheesy bass line. I'm gonna have to rework that bass line. That's way too bland. But here's what okay, I'm gonna just make this a little bit. I've got some unevenness in how long the sounds actually last. Got a little bit of filter on there, but I'm actually going to come over here just in the spirit of the sample and hold functions we had going on in the actual synth. I'm going to grab the frequency. I'm going to use a sample and hold on that. The hold mode. Oh man, that's another thing. The LFOs on Electron gear are just awesome. You can do a lot with them. Okay, let's make sure we get it every time. So it's 16. Cool. Maybe a little bit of, no, we already got some resonance on there. Maybe bring this down a little bit. Okay. Let's see if I can remember what I did. Okay, quantize that. Must have had some real awful notes in there. Let's check. Yep. Nope. Okay. A little bit of reverb on there, a little delay. Ooh, too much delay. Let's go mess with that delay real quick. Delay is the track 14 by default. Let's go spread on that. This turns on the ping pong here. This allows how wide the ping pongs happen. Okay. Not really sure what to do with this. I started on the the pocket operators, dude. Yes, I've got robot and factory, maybe. I really like those, but the problem I had with those is I think I wrote one song on them. I really like the song. It's still on there because I didn't want to change anything else. Like, well, what do I do with it? I should have just recorded it and moved on, but I got so enamored with that one song that I basically never deleted it, and so I built one song on it. But I actually got this really cool thing from Etsy. It turns them into side-by-side MPC. Hold on, I want to find it real quick. It's worthy of sharing. The only downside is that you can't see any of what the buttons are. This guy right here. Let's see if I can show this pretty well. There we go. Yeah. Yep. I think it is. I think it's robots. Yeah, I think, arcade? Yeah, robot and arcade. I think those are the two I have. Very fun, man. What a cool concept. Definitely overpriced, but super cool. It was a gift, and I was very excited to get it. But yeah, I kind of screwed myself by putting it into something that doesn't show you any of the buttons or what it does. So I either need to get like a marker and basically a very fine marker and mark those on here. This is what I might do. Or maybe try to get some sort of overlay for it, though. I don't know. I really love this little thing. I think it's a really cool idea to have it like this. I might do a little... you know what I should do is I should perform that song. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah, Terry, you should definitely... Trickman Terry, you should definitely put up your stuff, man. I'd like to see what you got. You know, it'd be really cool to see what you're doing with all that cool gear. All right. Let's see. It is 9:30. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to call it now. It's getting a little late. I had a lot of fun today. This thing is really a fantastic synth. The CAT. Awesome, awesome. And I think I'm going to start doing some sort of like noise stream just for fun. And this is definitely going to be part of it because you can get super grungy with this thing, especially if you're not worried about tonality. Like I said, I never touched this guy, and there's really you can't mess with the frequency modulation. You can't mess with the frequency of VCO2 via any modulation that I see. So unfortunately, you have to do that all by hand, which doesn't lend well to auto sampling. But yeah, I love this synth. It's very cool, very simple. If you're looking to get into something that's very affordable, but also gives you some really hands-on, there's no hood to look under. There's literally everything's right here, and it is. I take that back. There's like you plug it in. I think you can do like calibration and stuff like that. But there's no real control or any hidden features underneath anything. It's all just right in your face. And honestly, it sounds fantastic. It is a good sounding synthesizer. So, highly recommend it. Yeah, noise stuff is fun. I got a bunch of little fun noise toys that I've gotten over the years. Being a musician, but also electronic musician. Whenever family wants to get me something, they want to get me something music related. And I don't blame them. None of them want to spend $500 to $1,000 and buy like a full-on synthesizer. So I thankfully am very happy when I get a Behringer full-size synth. But I often get a lot of these like little kind of like noise silly toys, and they're really cool and fun. But it's like they do one thing. They just make some noise. Yeah, I will. Okay, I will do that. So yeah, it's I got a collection of those things, and I just don't ever know what to do with them. At one point, I was going to build a box that just had them all in there with this big mixer and just kind of mix it all in there together and go crazy. But I actually split some of it off and turned it into, I call it, God, what do I call it? Oh, expansion. And it's this box. There's some older videos. I'm going to bring it back eventually. But I basically have the Cosmos looper pedal. And I have a couple of like wacky noise creation machines and an old tape player and an iPad, all running into the Cosmos. And it's just kind of like, I want to call it ambient because I certainly wouldn't fall asleep or meditate to the music I'm making. But it certainly, has that kind of long, drawn out repetitiveness. That's, that all sounds negative what I'm saying right now, but it actually sounds kind of nice in my opinion. And also people who do it really well, that kind of style of stuff. So that's probably what I'll end up doing more with those. But the point was is I split off some of my noise stuff, so it's not going to be all in one single box. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, man, I'll touch base with you. I think that's cool. We should definitely talk some more outside of the online visual YouTube stuff. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for joining. Thank you for anybody who came and saw this, and thank you all who will see this later and watch it. Those really help me too. I love seeing those hours. Even on videos, I don't think anybody joined at all. I look back and I still got like 10 or 15 hours of watch time. So people are watching these, which is awesome, and I hope you're learning stuff. I am not quite there in terms of my workflow, but what I would like to do is start posting up the samples that I'm making, the multi-sampled instruments in here, and post them up on my website. For people to have. So yes, that will happen. Maybe I'll get to a point where I have enough to really share. At this point, I think I only have like 6 or maybe 8. Maybe I'll wait till I have enough to kind of build the workflow that's going to happen. What I would like to do is basically do a video, create these during the video, or maybe even like after the video if they're on a synth and I can save the presets. This type of synth I have to capture right away. But in that case, I would sample it afterwards if it was one I could save the presets. And then maybe like later that week I could put it out. So it's a little bit more tied to the video when it comes out, a little more timely. But yeah, so thank you. Thank you, Trickman Terry. Yes, Evoke is very good for that. And I got that later, and then I was like, oh man, I keep getting these things, and if I could, what I really love is I'd love to have, if I was very wealthy, I'm not wealthy at all, but if I had good amounts of money that I could spare, I would build all of my stuff into like these modular cases that I could essentially assemble together. So I could say, okay, I want these 3 synths together and just slap them all together into a full-on sturdy case. That's what I would love to do. Or better yet, build a system that I can easily just mount things into or whatever. But whatever the case is, what I currently do is I build boxes that have all of the gear I want for a particular style of performance. So I do have my Dark Trinity with a whole host of other stuff crammed into this huge heavy box. I call that my master command. I have the sub command, which is the 2 digis, the Digitone MK1 and the Digitech MK1, and then the Jomox M Bass 11 with some other effects in there, and that's another box. Then I'm also building an acid box with 2 TD3s, and then I also have the new one, which is the Modal Cycles and the Evoke. And that one's also going to be very exciting. But that's what I'm doing now is I'm putting them in boxes. That way they're kind of like, and I of course have the expansion. So it's kind of like, that's where my mind's going because I've realized I have too much gear. I have way too many options, and if I don't create these types of pre-formatted boxes, then I'm just sitting there going like, oh, well, I want this song, but I'm going to grab this synth and put it in there, and then I spend most of the time plugging it up and trying to put it together. So anyways, I'm rambling. Trickman Terry, thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Anybody else who watches this, thank you as well. As always, like, subscribe, all that jazz, so that hopefully I can build this up and do more of it and make it more valuable for everybody. But anyway, thank you again. Y'all have a really